it's next to impossible to solve this Rubik's Cube, if you will. Just seemingly next to impossible. You know, one of the things that the national media especially likes to do up here is declare within hours of a vote who was right and who was wrong. And I think it's important to realize that oftentimes we don't know who's right or wrong for years, for decades after. And even sometimes they write the history books and they don't get it right. And I certainly have empathy for those who support Ukraine funding right now. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong that this is not the proper time to do it. But what I'm not wrong on is securing the border. That should be the top priority. And once we secure our own border, then let's look abroad and then see what we can do to help with Ukraine as well. As I think about the border and the significance of the problem, I think about the number of people that have died from fentanyl poisoning. And I know I keep bringing up this fentanyl poisoning.
Maybe we ought to have a debate on that. To get Jerry Moran up to get his mind right, that we got to close the border first, then have a discussion in Ukraine. And oh, by the way, the Ukraine's a zero. Tillis, and if my staff can, I want to try to pull this before we turn over to the Lou Dobbs show tonight. But Tillis out heckling you. He's heckling you. So folks in and I want a hat tip to the Rumble crowd and also to Getter and Rev, others that are saying they like that rant. I can only take so much of these guys. I would like to have this show do it in a different way many times, but I can only take so much of it. The Tillis, what did Tillis got to get to? Anyway, Tillis said that what do you got? All you got is Ukrainian oligarchs and guys ripping off $20 billion and doing this now. There is no reason for us to be there. They're not an ally. Quit calling them an ally. They're not an ally. We have no alliance with Ukraine, and we will never have an alliance with Ukraine. The whole point of World War II was not to get us drawn into the battlefield of Central Europe, the heartland of Asia. It's a if you look at the history of that, it absorbs armies. It absorbs young men and women in wars like this. You know who knows that? Don't take it from Steve Bannon. The mothers and fathers of the Ukrainian kids, they're now of age to serve. They have 500,000 because they've killed so many. The blood, the blood of the Ukrainian people. Mersheimer told us, the professor at the University of Chicago back in 2014, when Victoria Nuland and all these dirtbags were over there and they're all going to get Ukraine. He said they're going to walk Ukraine down the primrose path until their destruction. The West will, the leaders in the West, and going after Russia. My question has still not been answered. I have tremendous respect for Jim Rickards. And you should go now. If you go to strategic intelligence, you can get more of the geopolitics he puts forward and the capital markets he puts forward and how he interconnects it to politics. Much of what we do on the show, he puts it in a written form. Very, very savvy. And the top hedge fund investors of the world subscribe to it, and you have access to. So Paradigm Press, strategic intelligence. And you should. I'm a strong advocate of reading that. I don't totally agree with the answer he gave the other day because I was there. I saw this with my own eyes. I was a young naval officer on a destroyer, just a basic Schmendrick on a destroyer in the Pacific, in the 7th Fleet. And our mission was to guard, essentially carrier battle groups, where you have the combatants, you have the air. And we were an ASW. We were the state-of-the-art ASW ship, anti-submarine warfare at the time. A class of ships called the Spruance class that were built. And our job was to essentially hunt Soviet fast attack submarines. That was our mission. That was our task and our purpose. We did other things. That was our task and purpose. And then later, I was honored to be selected to go back as a special assistant to the Chief of Naval Operations. And I had a job that was right into the kind of the board of directors of the decisions that had to be made every day. for the United States Navy, kind of longer term decisions or interim term decisions on budget, things like this. And I saw, because I got there I got back off of sea duty and showed up on the first day, the day after President Reagan was the inauguration. I went to the inauguration, and the next day showed up at work. And I saw the fight that President Reagan and Cap Weinberger and these patriots had to take down the evil empire. I had a ringside seat as a very young man, and left an indelible impression upon me. And I saw who the enemy was. I saw who the opposition was. I saw who backed the Soviets. And then we put the Pershing missiles into Europe to defend the Europeans, the tactical nuclear weapons that are still there today. Millions of people coming out in Central Park, the same people that had protested on the Vietnam War. The same crowd, millions of people in Central Park, massive rallies. Show me in Europe, massive rallies. In Germany, no, can't do this, warmongers. They were for the Bolsheviks. How did the crowd, and I want you to do it, I want you to answer it. This is a homework assignment. How did the people that backed the Bolsheviks, and they hated Reagan, because Trump is actually more populist and more nationalist than even Reagan. If Reagan was around today, he would be MAGA. He would be MAGA. He was kind of the forerunner, the precedent for it. The Reagan Revolution, particularly the blue-collar Democrats, the Reagan Democrats. But I saw who fought Reagan. I was there. I saw it with my own two eyes. So people can't tell me, oh, it's in books. No, I saw it. I was there. I was a participant at a very junior level. Just like in Trump's campaign in 2016, the first days of the administration, I was there. People can't tell me and spin me because I was there. I saw it. I lived it. And the people in the imperial capital, Washington, D.C., and in New York City, and the people that fought Reagan tooth and nail to take down the evil empire, not like even Kissinger and Nixon or the Democrats, rapprochement. We're just going to get along to give along. They got a sphere of influence. No. His mandate was we win and they lose. Told his national security advisor. We win and they lose. I made a film about this. Maybe we'll play that one day and I'll give commentary. In the Face of Evil, off of Peter Schweitzer's book, taken from all receipts. The whole movie's nothing but receipts taken from the KGB files. Of which in the KGB files they said Reagan was the most dangerous man in America. The KGB said that. Stasi, the KGB said it because they said his words and his deeds are one and the same. Why are those people that backed the Bolsheviks? Why are the children, why are the people that backed the Bolsheviks like Jamie Raskin? Let's take Jamie Raskin as prime example one. A red diaper baby. Father's not just a communist. I mean, he was proud to be a communist. Why is Jamie Raskin one of the biggest? Got to do Ukraine. Why are all the people that backed the Bolsheviks in the 30s, in the 40s and the 50s, these big fights we had? Watch the movie Oppenheimer. Why are the people that backed the Bolsheviks? Because the Soviets are just the Bolsheviks, just a different name for it. It cleaned it up a bit. The Bolsheviks had a pretty bad run there, got some negative press. You might equate Bolshevik with Nazi. How about that? Might equate Bolsheviks with what they did in the 30s. Might equate that to the Nazis. Of course, they had the New York Times. Remember, there was a Durante, the lead reporter. He was part of it. He was an open propagandist, part of the Bolsheviks. Why were the people? Ask yourself this. I'm not going to tell you. I want you to have a homework assignment. In fact, I hope the dogs buried the bone kind of deep. It's not that deep, though. But just ask yourself the question, why are the people that backed the Bolsheviks the people now that are so anti-Russian? How did that happen? How did that happen? Because I know who they are. I saw it. I was a Grundoon working every day, for the man to make sure that we could actually take down the evil empire. That was his command to his Department of Defense and Cap Weinberger, his close buddy. His close buddy. We win and they lose. The people on the opposite side of that, remember Ted Kennedy, no election interference there. Ted Kennedy went to it's open. He went to the Soviet ambassador back during when Carter was running against things. So what do we need to do? How can we help you? How can you help us stop this guy? Because this guy is dead serious about taking you guys on. He calls you an evil empire. Ask yourself that question. See what answer you come up with. There's such evil going on right now. We got to get to the bottom of this Ukraine situation. One day we're all going to stand in judgment, right? People are going to, God the Father is going to judge us. We're going to have to make our case for ourselves. Part of that's what's done in our name. Part of that's what's done in our name that you understand, and you understand it. That's where you're the leaders of this movement. You're the tip of the spear. So there's evil going on right now. They're going to vote on that evil at 8:30 to send this money and just in your face. Not one penny to secure the border. They don't care about securing the border. That 5.5 month thing was a joke, and they know it's a joke. They know it's a fig leaf. Don't ask me. Look at Eric Schmidt. He's sitting there going, hey, center of gravity, this whole thing's been Ukraine. Eric Schmidt's not some wild man, wild-eyed, yelling in the microphone, bouncing all around. Steady, stable guy. He said it right there. Because he's got to go back and explain it to the folks in Missouri. Because he says he understands they're being disrespected. And he owes them an explanation of what went down in this imperial capital, driven by the governing coalition of the Republicans, those 18. Those people that vote for it have no excuse and they can't hide. And JD said, well, a lot of them are, but Churchill and they're inspired by, the Churchill speech. That, JD, I realize you're trying to protect your colleagues, and it's good on you for doing that. But if that's pretty thin tissue to hide behind, if that's what they're doing, because you can blow that one out of the water in about 30 seconds. So there's something darker here. There's something nastier here. There's also much evil here domestically. What happened down at Joel Osteen is quite dark, and people refuse to look it in the eye and say what the problem is. Let's play the cold open. I want to bring in Brandon Showalter.
So she has utilized both male and female names, but through all of our investigation to this point, talking with individuals, interviews, documents, Houston Police Department reports, she has been identified this entire time as female, she, her, and so we are identifying her as Genesee Moreno, Hispanic female.
I have to say, Tom, that's a fairly comprehensive assessment, given that the shooting was just yesterday. What's your takeaway?
That's right. Confirming information, NBC First reported earlier today that Genesee Moreno is the name of this shooter. She is 36 years old, as we reported earlier today. I want to point out, because it might not have been clear for the audience, there was a discussion about chemicals that were found or something that was found there, and whether or not there was any sort of threat to the people who were attending that 2 p.m. service yesterday or to the community there at the church, and they said that there is not. We had received information earlier today that this individual, Moreno, may have sprayed some sort of
Showalter on it. We're going to continue to develop this story. This is what I call. I think it's trans rad. That was not a woman. That was a dude. Okay, that was a guy. And they go through this whole thing of backflips and they this and ba-bing, ba-bang, ba-bung. Dude, just call it out. Just say what it is. It's a guy dressed as a woman or pretending to be a woman or wanted to be a woman. Quite frankly, I don't care. I don't want to be bothered by it. The audience doesn't want to be bothered by it. They want to know what the hell is going on. Brandon, tell us exactly what went down with Pastor Joel Osteen and this, whatever this guy was.
Well, I actually do think it was a woman, Steve, but that's the transgender dimension of this. As I often like to say, the confusion is a feature and not a bug. What this is all, what happened basically is at Joel Osteen's church, at Lakewood Church, there was a shooting outside. Thankfully, it could have been an absolute nightmare. only a young kid sadly was shot and is in critical condition, and last I heard was not expected to make it. A 57-year-old man was also shot in the leg, and he is in stable condition. This woman that they are saying went by the name of Jeffrey, but we do believe that it is a female. But the confusion is the point. We are reporting on this story very closely at the Christian Post. Both generally, and my colleagues Leo Blair and Leah Klett have also gotten some articles about how the church is responding. Thankfully, there wasn't another mass shooting, but the transgender question has emerged again because there have been a slew of shootings that have happened in recent years where the perpetrator has been some sort of gender identity other than their biological sex. And so the question becomes, how do you report on this accurately so as not to confuse the public, and what other factors are driving this kind of erratic, horrible behavior?
Is there a new thing called trans? Is there a new thing like trans red? Because this goes back to, doesn't this go back to the manifesto in Memphis that Steve Crowder got a part of, but they won't officially. Crowder got the notes, or he got part of the manifesto, but maybe he didn't get the whole thing. But they haven't officially released it. Does it not go back to the manifesto that this is now a thing, that this is going to happen, that these people that have this confusion are somehow taking this out on religious institutions or schools?
It was actually Nashville, not Memphis, but yes. These are questions we're going to need to ask, and I think that when we consider these kinds of questions about hormones or mental health, we need to be very careful that we don't say that all trans identified persons are going to be mass shooters, because that's not true. But I think we need to start asking questions about it when you see a pattern. It is so disturbing to see people who are disturbed, who would pull off or try to pull off a mass shooting like this. And in the case of the Nashville shooter, Audrey Hale, there was a manifesto written against Christians. And there's a judge in Harris County in the Houston area that's trying to see if this particular attempted shooting is going to be charged under the hate crime laws because it happened at a Spanish-speaking service, even though this shooter looks like herself El Salvadorian. There's some very troubled people out in this world that are willing to commit these kinds of atrocities. And when you add gender confusion into the mix, I think that only heightens and exacerbates some already terrible tensions in this country. I hope that we can have a conversation in this nation about the kinds of sort of mental health services and what we're doing to young people, particularly if they are drugged up on anabolic steroids or hormones, how that might be affecting their mental health. But again, I would want to be very careful that I'm not saying that all gender confused people are going to do something like this. I wouldn't make that claim, but
you've never said that. And hang on, and we're not saying it either. But the able child, the Mo spoke at this amazing group with Sheila Matthews and I think Patricia Weathers. They're starting this whole thing about just the drugging of children, particularly young boys, immediately. This is not about gender confusion. It's just about big pharma and the drugging. It's not the guns, it's the drugs. But in this one, help me out here. And I'm not trying to be selective. I'm taking all these shooting incidences that happen. Doesn't it seem like recently you've seen more of these where you've had these, what do you call it, gender confusion issues and people latching out? Is that, and because that should be such a small part of the population, when then you look and see that a couple of these are popping up, something's happening in the anger. And this is why I think they owe it to the public in Nashville. Just release the manifesto. Every time these people write manifestos, they should be released because people get a deeper understanding. You saw the anger building up in this young woman over time, and her kind of hate-filled, manifesto, I think would be a wake-up call.
You're right. And online, the discussion is emerging that there was the shooting in Colorado Springs, Nashville, Aberdeen, Denver, and an Iowa school, Lakewood shooter. Obviously, all of them were identifying themselves as either non-binary or trans or gender fluid. The gender confusion question certainly doesn't help. There's a mental health crisis in this country, and I think when you have social currency, that being quote unquote trans is the cool thing to be, and it's a way in which young people and troubled adults can find themselves in this kind of special category of person to maybe curry sympathy with certain people. It needs deeper analysis, but it's just harrowing when you see mental health exploited like this. And there's got to be some very thoughtful people who get their heads around what it is that we're doing to young people that I think in some cases are driving them, certainly not helping their mental health when they would consider doing something like this. The discussion is emerging given the trend of recent shootings where the shooters have all identified themselves.
Hang on. Could you just go? I just want to go back and give the receipts on what. Just go back to that list again. And this has happened over what period of time?
It's very recent. Within the last, I think, I don't have all of the dates figured out in my head. I was just looking, but there was Colorado Springs. There was the LGBTQ club, Club Q. The shooter was non-binary, or so he said. Nashville school, that was Audrey Hale. That wasn't so long ago. Aberdeen, the shooter also identified as trans. There was a Denver school and an Iowa school. It's been a lot in recent days. And so, again, I'm not saying that everyone who is gender confused is at risk of being a mass shooter, but it's a noticeable trend. And it's pretty harrowing. I certainly wouldn't want to say anything that would contribute to violence myself, obviously, and I hope that we can all be smart and try to tone down the rhetoric in this country. But it's a scary thing to see, LGBTQ plus identity being used like this.
But hang on. But given that, let's say, what is your recommendation of how do you help? If you want to say, hey, there's clearly some trend here, it's not positive. Yeah. What are the experts saying should be done to make sure that these school shootings are obviously horrific enough? The situation with Big Pharma, as Sheila Matthews can tell you, is not going to go away. They continue to push these drugs for was it psychotropic, whatever these drugs are for young boys, constantly, because it's a high margin business that they're doing. But if this is another trend, what are the experts saying can be done to make sure that this thing doesn't spin out of control?
I'm not so familiar with what experts are saying about that, though. Of course, you know this, Dr. Miriam Grossman is the go-to authority in terms of psychiatric advice for young people who are struggling. What they need is good counseling who are going to look at the root causes of their mental distress and not hastily send them down a pathway of, in the case of gender confusion, experimental medicalization, which, Steve, it is not an exaggeration to say, and I know these people personally, you can call Planned Parenthood and within 30 minutes, you will be given a prescription for testosterone by mere self-declaration. You declare yourself trans at any age. I imagine there's some states where you have to be an adult, but Planned Parenthood is passing out testosterone like it's candy. That's a controlled substance. And all the safeguards and checks against that kind of thing are gone in this land of LGBTQ plus chaos. We're medicalizing young people who they're not looking under the hood, if you will, to really get at the root of the problem. And the drugs, the experimental hormones are only making things worse. I hope that there can be, in light of the spate of recent shootings that I just listed off, that we can take a good hard look to see, okay, is this gender confusion? Were they on drugs? Did that maybe have an effect? We don't know until we do the research, until we look at the science and sort of examine it for what it is. But the fact that there is such a trend where you're seeing this identification in these young people and these vulnerable adults identifying as such, it's something we need to take a look at. But all of the major organizations that are pushing this ideology are completely captured. And I guarantee you, Steve, that they are going to come out and say that there's nothing there, or they'll try to flip the script. It was very curious to me to see in the Nashville shooting. I remember when all that happened, how even reporters were talking about how Tennessee had just passed ban against so-called gender-affirming care in the wake of a mass shooting. So you're not going to get truthful, analysis from the corporate press on this subject, but we are going to have to wait and see what other comorbidities and mitigating factors are influencing these mass shooters or those who are attempting to, as what happened in Houston at Lakewood Church yesterday.
I know our audience. I can already tell our audience wants to know what is Planned Parenthood. I thought they were about abortion, and I thought they were about birth control. What are they? They're handing out testosterone. Walk us through that again, because I think it's a shock. I think it's a shock to a lot of the audience. What are they doing?
Yeah, they're in on this business, and it's their new line of income. It seems. I was shocked when I learned years ago that Planned Parenthood is passing out testosterone like it's candy, and that's not hyperbole, but this is what they do, and it is really as easy as you can be. I remember the great journalist Abigail Shrier, who was the author of the 2020 book Irreversible Damage, wrote on her Substack about how she, a whistleblower from Planned Parenthood, came forward and showed that they were giving out testosterone every day to vulnerable young people, and the only time that the clinicians said no to a person coming in was a young man who had some substance abuse problems, and they said, you have to get some counseling before we'll give it to you. But everyone else, I have seen informed consent documents that people have come to me and given, they've showed me that they went into Planned Parenthood and were given a prescription for these cross-sex hormones within an hour. And I, in fact, called Planned Parenthood one time, and I pretended to be transgender. And I asked the representative on the phone, I said, a friend told me that if you go on hormones, the human brain doesn't stop developing until about age 25, which is established neuroscience, by the way, Steve. And that I remember that rep told me that sounds like smoke coming out of nowhere. She tried to make me believe that it would be totally fine, that there was no risk to the brain.
Wow.
We know, so this is just a money-making machine. These young people who are going on these hormones are cash cows for Planned Parenthood. So it's just a disgrace. I mean, there needs to be a reckoning. This is one of the greatest medical scandals of all times. And I think the after effects, whether or not it can be determined that they are sort of contributing to these mass shootings, I'm not ready to say conclusively that that's a factor because we haven't seen the science yet, the analysis, but we need a reckoning. It can't come swiftly enough.
Okay, we'll have you back on to talk about California. Where do people go? Get about 15, 20 seconds. Where do people go to get all your content?
At Brandon M. Show on X, deadnamedocumentary.com to see that film, generationindoctrination.com to listen to our documentary-style podcast at the Christian Post. Check it out.
Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you,
Shocking developments down there. We got to stay on top of this. Absolutely shocking, because this is going to be a new thing. Okay, short commercial break. We'll return back to the Senate. We return in the War Room.
War Room Battleground with Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back. Okay, in the Senate, there's a tweet out that says they're going to try to vote. McConnell, these guys are going to try to force the vote tonight. Senator Vance and Johnson and others have scheduled, the conservatives or the MAGA group on this have scheduled or trying to schedule a press conference tomorrow. So they may force them to work through the night. There's all kind of back and forth about slowing this thing down. We'll see. Remember, we're going to pick, Lou Dobbs is going to be next. Here on Lindell TV, we're going to go over to Getter and to Rumble and being able to put up into the live chat so people can see what's going on. But we will be following it. And if there's any other great speeches between now and the time we go off the air at 7 East Coast time, we'll put it on. Mike Lindell joins us before it gets dark. He had a great shot. The sun's down. Mike, we've got to secure these elections. One of the things we have to do is that the RNC has to be revamped. I know you're working on that nonstop. Can you give us an update?
Yeah, with the election platforms, we have the best plan, everybody. It's the LindellPlan.com. Go there now. You can see we're going to approach every single county in the United States towards the end of March. All 3,143, less than 200 that are already committed to paper ballots hand counted. It's an awesome plan. We've got so many pre-committed, but we've got teams in every single county in the United States. So go there, learn about the plan, get involved. It's LindellPlan.com, Steve, and it basically matches what the RNC put in last August. The one thing they did do was pass a resolution for paper ballots hand counted, and we're going to get there before the 2024 election, long before it.
One things we're trying to do is make sure people access of people are tired of giving their money to people that hate them. And this is this whole Patriot economy. I'm going to talk about Patriot Mobile here in a second that's done it in telecommunications. Walk me through. People are very intrigued by my store. Particularly, we showed the CCP version that was up on the, taking $7 million. I think they had a couple of commercials. I think they spent like $14-15 million advertising to try to get Americans to use their site. But Amazon, as soon as you're up, you're copied by the CCP. the Chinese companies make it, you're out of business. Here with Temu, I mean, they just do it there. There's no pretense to even look to the Americans. Why is my store any different?
Well, my store is different because, you guys, I spent 2.5 years now, almost 3 years, with teams of people onboarding these entrepreneurs and these USA products, thousands of them. So you can go to mystore.com, and use that promo code War Room there. The stories of all these entrepreneurs are there, Steve, and it's every one of them has a story behind it. They've invented their products or they've developed them, and they're everything you could think of. And we protect them there. Every one of them is assigned one of my reps, and if they're out there and they're on Amazon or other places and they get copied, we know all the patent laws too and all the stuff that we can get around. But here at my store, they have a safe place for them to reside, and we bring the people to their products, and it's absolutely been awesome.
Talk to me, all the specials, although Fox is begrudgingly taking your spots, you still have specials for the War Room Posse. Everybody's all over me about it. What do you got for us?
Well, Steve, I'm down in Mar-a-Lago, so we're having a everybody get this. This is our, President's Sale, our day is next week. This is our real President's Day sale for the War Room Posse. This is exclusive. These are the mattress topper sale. They're as low as $99.99. This is the MyPillow 2.0. You can save 50% plus free shipping. We set this up this week. It's exclusive for the War Room Posse with the free shipping on their entire order. But take advantage of this. Read up on that. Come to MyPillow. Go down to the War Room Square there, and you guys click on Steve there, and you'll see all the specials. But there's the toppers. There's the toppers, the flannel sheets, the blankets. All these new commercials we have coming out are all the War Room Posse. You get them first, and you also have many, like the toppers. They're exclusive to the War Room Posse. We want you all sleeping better than anyone in the country, because we've got 10 months to get this country straightened out and get our real president back in. And there's the down comforts, the MyPillow 2.0. But Steve, the big news is those MyPillow mattress toppers. The technology we put into them are second to none. They will give you the best sleep. Even if you got a new bed, everybody, you know what? If that new bed, you're waking up with aches and pains, you need a new input to get a better output. You put that My Mattress Topper on top of that.
MyPillow.com, promo code Worm. Go there right now. MyStore.com, promo code Worm. 800-873-1062 is the number. Make sure you say promo code Worm to get all the savings. Can we have just Mike on the whole shot, not me? I want to see that beautiful shot from Mar-a-Lago. Mike, did this come with, look at that shot. That's magnet. Mar-a-Lago is so beautiful. You're looking, I guess, at the Atlantic Ocean there. Mike, here's the question. Did you get this? Did you get the accommodations? Did that come with the award? They're allowing you to hang out at Mar-a-Lago now because of the award?
Here's the award, Steve. There it is, everybody. Got this award. It says Michael J. Lindell, Patriot Award 2024, American Hero Trumpets USA. So, yeah, it's great. What a view, huh? This place is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful places Fabulous. In the country. And I'm going to be here for a few days, and I'm looking forward to maybe getting together with our real president. And it was great. I was very humbled getting this award from on Saturday night from all the people here. And but I gave the glory to God. I did a speech, gave the glory to God. God blessed me with a platform, with a mouth there. I will never stop fighting. I will never stop speaking out, no matter how much they attack my pillow and every other thing. I will keep speaking out until we get to secure elections and we get our real president, Donald Trump, back in.
Mike, when you get a chance to see the real president the next couple of days, tell him the War Room Posse loves him. The whole team is 100% on board. And this vast audience has his back every day. May not always agree with some of the endorsements. May not agree with some of the endorsements. He knows that. He'll give you a laugh. He'll chuckle. He says he knows we're the hardcore, but we love him and tell him we got his back.
I will do that. And thank you all. Thank you, War Room Posse, for supporting my pillow. You've made it all possible, and we're very grateful. All my employees are very grateful, and Keep them busy. Call that 800-873-1062. Everything I'm out doing there to secure the elections, you guys make it possible, so I can rest assured my employees are being taken care of. And you're getting taken care of, too, with the best products ever.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Steve.
I want to talk about another Glenn Story. The Patriots, they accused Glenn Story at Patriot Mobile. And they've done tons of articles now, I think of BBC and The Guardian and New York Times, because Glenn is, putting a God We Trust. They made that available to put in Texas schools. They're fighting for school boards down in Texas, make sure the school boards are got the right people on them. They're particularly focused on Tarrant County down there in the Fort Worth area. And Patriot Mobile is a group, the company, it's a Christian-based company, gives, I think, 10% back to charity, back to charities that believe in the First Amendment and the Second Amendment and support the first responders and veterans and all that. So they kind of tithe back. Very devout people, and it's the best service. You get Americans when you call in, when you go to patriotmobile.com or you call the 800 number. You get it's American Citizen switchboards, and they're on him all the time. We promote and push and give you access to people that support your values and don't hate your values. So he takes what the telecom services provide, puts his on top, and then so you get the same service, but you get it from a Christian company. Yes, a Christian company. They accuse him of being a Christian nationalist, or we're Christian nationalists. Or pointing this, well, hey, he said Glenn Story has the values of this audience, and people are tired of giving their money to people that mock them and people that hate them and people are trying to destroy their values. It's not going to happen. Was it today the congressman for West Virginia says, look, I don't want to say, but we're old-fashioned. The folks in West Virginia and West by God, Virginia are old-fashioned. We have traditional values from really the beginning of this republic. I said, no, those are the values that are going to save us. Don't apologize for that. That's what this audience has. So that's going, that's what's going to save us. So Glenn Story and Mike Lindell, they're kind of cut from the same cloth. And remember, they're out to destroy them. They're out to destroy them. They are out to destroy them. Just like they're out to destroy President Trump. Okay, just like they're out to destroy President Trump. Right there. I can't see. I don't have my glasses on, so Josh Hawley's up. Let's go to the Senate floor. I want to hear Josh Hawley right now.
End of the fourth quarter that tied the score and sent the game into overtime. This Super Bowl performance of his underscores a phenomenal season in which he was perfect in the postseason and missed only two field goals.
As soon as he gets down to he's from Missouri, so he's going to be talking about Kansas City. What a great game Mahomes and company played last night. Andy Reid, just extraordinary. Of course, San Francisco with Christian McCaffrey. I mean, that I think was probably the greatest Super Bowl, hard-hitting football for football fans. As soon as Josh Hawley's one of the leaders up here of really fighting this. And so with the time we have remaining, as soon as Josh Hawley pivots back to that, Hawley's going to be at CPAC, right? J.D. Vance is going to be at CPAC. President Trump's going to be at CPAC. Warren's going to be there. Look, the deal we got you is under $100. So go to cpac.org/warroom, under $100, think $95. You will get, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and also Wednesday night. And I think what we're trying to do, hopefully I'll be able to announce this, we're going to try to do something special for you guys on Wednesday afternoon. We're also going to be trying to put together some get-togethers, but regardless, I'll be out with you in the crowd. We'll do the shows live. They'll be intense like they always are. I'll get to meet and greet everybody. We're going to have a great time. We're going to fire off the football. And I want to make sure everybody gets a chance, can get there. So make sure you go to cpac.org/worm. You got to go there to get the special discount. Just get it, $95. I know people are strapped for money. A lot of people are strapped for money right now, but I will tell you that this is the kind of thing you want to do in 2024, because you're going to see the whole battle plan kind of laid out. And you're going to be with the networking. Ask anybody that's been before in the chats. The networking is incredible. You're going to meet friends. You're going to meet people that are comrades. You have camaraderie for life. It's pretty special. Pretty special. The Turning Point conferences and these are the ones I think you really go and meet. And President Trump's going to be there. And it's going to be a barn burner. It's going to give the day of South Carolina. Crom Carmichael finally tracked him down on vacation. Crom, Salty. Everybody in the audience is saying, where's Crom? What's Crom? Tell us about Salty. Why is it good? Look, You've got nothing but Lionhearts manning the ramparts here, particularly tonight, which is a tough night for us. A fight against long odds. But they got to be Lionhearts. How do we make sure they have hearts of lions, sir?
Steve, thanks so much for that warm introduction. I'm holding up a bottle of Soul Tea right here, and in this bottle is 60 soft gels. You take 2 a day, and it's great for your cardiovascular system and great for your heart. And Steve, you're correct. I was taking a break for a few days. I was down in Florida, and I played some golf at a resort there called Stream Song, and I walked 9 miles, 3 days in a row. I enjoyed myself tremendously. Now, in order to do that, I'm 75 years old. In order to do that, I have to have a strong cardiovascular system, and I have to be in reasonably good shape. But the basis of it is a great heart and a strong cardiovascular system. I've been taking Soul Tea, which is the product that we've been making the active ingredient for over 20 years. I've been taking it for 20 years. And I think it has helped my cardiovascular system. We have great science to back up our Soul Tea, and we have all kinds of nice emails from customers who have had tremendous benefits. Their cholesterol's lower, their blood pressure's lower, and it just strengthens your cardiovascular system. And if you're going to live a long, healthy life, I want to put the emphasis on the healthy rather than the long. You want to have a lot of fun in life. You want to be able to work hard, and frankly, in the time and the stress we're going to be under between now and November, we have to have strong hearts and the will to win. And so I would encourage the posse.
Yeah, we've got a country to save, and it's not going to be easy. People know
right.
this. I mean, I'm not sure we're going to win this one tonight, but we got to make sure we get a smaller vote, tightest vote as possible, and take names. But and we got some heroes there, but we got a country to save. I understand that people are under stress, they're under financial stress, they're under all types of stress, angst, anxiety, what's happening to the country. That's why this audience has got to be that core group that can punch through, just like in Normandy, when the with the 29th Division got caught down that beach, and they said, hey, the two types of people on this beach, those are dead and those are going to die. You're going to have to blow through a Bangalore torpedo and blow up that abridgment and get through, and that's what they did, and it was tough. But that's what this audience has got to do. So they got to have good hearts. So where do they go, sir?
Steve, they go to warroomhealth.com. That's warroomhealth.com. And if they'll use the code WARROOM at checkout, they get 50% off their initial shipment. And then on an ongoing basis, we ship them every 90 days. We ship a 90-day supply, 3 bottles for the price of 2. And we always pay the freight. It's a great value. It works out to about $20 a month, which is 70 cents a day. And to take care of your heart and your cardiovascular system for $20 a month is a great deal. And I appreciate, Steve, so much you letting me talk to the War Room Posse about their good health and the importance of staying strong through November and beyond. And thanks so much.
Thank you for coming back on from vacation. I'm glad you got, you're a healthy guy with a healthy heart. But thanks back coming off the beach and joining us back here in the War Room.
I sure appreciate it. I'll be back hard at work now. I'm off vacation.
Crom Carmichael off vacation. We're going to go back to Hawley. Okay, Lou Dobbs is going to follow us. I'm going to be up on Getter and on Rumble. I think Senator Hawley's still up there. We're going to hopefully get a couple minutes to spend with him before we go. Lou Dobbs follows us. We'll be back at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. There's going to be a press conference with J.D. Vance. Remember, paint within the lines, but make sure people find out tonight. That's what I think you've got to get Bill Blaster. It's free. It's an app. This lets you make sure they can't block you at the switchboard. But Grace Chung will give you all the details on that. Grace will also be with us at CPAC, and we tend to have some seminars to make sure you guys can become even more effective as a unit. You're pretty damn effective right now. You get their attention. And that's why all weekend, both on Rumble and Getter, we showed, we had the send it up, and Grace and, of course, Mo were working all weekend, and we were able to put it up, and the participation was incredible. And your knowledge in understanding the debate. Tillis and these guys mock you. I mean, the quote was, "Oh, we know so much more than our base. They're not informed." I think you're pretty informed. There may be some things on the margin about intel, but it's all on the margin. You get the main thrust of the argument, and you've got a counter argument. And that counter argument is, hey, secure the border or shut down this government. And no, on a $7 trillion budget, we've paid for everything we're going to pay for, and we're not going to have another quote-unquote supplemental, particularly on Ukraine. And we want an investigation of where the money, Tillis goes, $20 billion for oligarchs, that's all you got. Yeah. That's not all we got, but it's some of what we got, and we want to find out where the money went. See, they're just so sanctimonious. And folks in Carolina, Tillis is your problem. South Dakota, your problem. Oklahoma, your problem. We're there to have your back, and we'll be all over it, but hey, they represent the beautiful states, and particularly the beautiful patriots. Don't ever forget what Eric Schmidt said. This process is disrespecting the people in Missouri. Well, it's disrespecting the people in South Dakota. It's disrespecting the people in Oklahoma. It's disrespecting people throughout this country. So make sure they don't forget that. Also, Birch Gold. I'm going to keep harping on this because I think you need to focus on it and at least spend some time with those people. End of the dollar empire. This is what Putin was talking about. I think he had read The End of the Dollar Empire. We try to make the case and lay it out that being the prime reserve currency has many, many, many benefits. Also has some issues. But regardless of that, that's a national debate. What you don't want to do is have been the prime reserve currency and then it just collapse because of fiscal mismanagement and monetary terrorism. And that's what we have in this country. You heard today Jason Trennert, one of the communists, he's a guy like Schmidt. These are not fire breathers. He didn't come with his hair on fire. He kind of laid out the case of what the Fed's doing against this charter. And quite frankly, why the BRICS nations who have the resource, the kind of global south, are saying, look, MAGA may have to take that. The deplorables may have to take that. American citizens may have to take that. But we think we can have a choice. And that's why they're buying gold at record rates. Just ask Philip to walk you through that. Just have him walk you through that. Don't worry. My apparatus here kind of went over the side, but we'll be able to wing it between now and then. It's just my clock, but I'll get through this. Also, Jace Medical Team. Remember, we first started here on right after impeachment. We became War Room Pandemic as we shifted the focus on the pandemic. The very first thing. I think we're the very first show to talk about in January of 2020. Not just pandemic, but we've talked about the entire supply chain and how this was going to affect the supply chain was going to affect your health. And the Chinese communists knew this because in unrestricted warfare, they had worked not just from a monetary basis and economic, but to do this strategically to hold it over us. Active pharmaceutical ingredients, they control 100% of that. Think about that for a second, 100%. Just like they did remember the gloves and the mask and all this. The generic drugs, 80% is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, 20% by India, but everything coming from them. Go to jacemedical.com. Okay, we're going to be online. Lou Dobbs is next. We're back here at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Price start with the press conference. Stay up. This is going to be a fight. We'll see you tomorrow morning in the War Room.